Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Christmas is here, and boy do we need some Christmas cheer this year with the way things have been. I am so thankful we are near the end of 2020. It was a rough year for sure. Let's hope 2021 goes at least a little better. Anyway, today we get to talk about one of my favorite film franchises, Back to the Future.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Now this video will not be on the films themselves, but on an episode of the animated series, thanks to a DVD I found at Walmart for only $5.
Cause Walmart, you ain't shit! Fuck you!
Yes, you heard me right. Back to the Future had an animated series at one point in time. The show first aired in 1991 and ended in 1992 after 2 seasons and 26 episodes. The show is basically a sequel to the third movie. Now, the start of every episode is pretty neat. Every episode starts and ends with a live action segment starring Doc himself, Christopher Lloyd. These segments usually has him doing something random like fixing the DeLorean and whatnot before they get into the actual show itself. In the show, we got Doc and Marty, but we also got Doc's wife Clara and their kids Jules and Vern, all of which appear in the third movie. In this show, Doc along with his family reside in a farmhouse in Hill Valley. There we get to see the family living their life and having to time travel for various reasons and go to all different points in time and bring Marty with them. In these time periods, they usually get caught up in some sort of scenario and usually face off with one of Biff Tannen's ancestors. Biff, for those of you who don't know, is basically a boy who appears in all the Back to the Future movies due to Doc and Marty running into his relatives in the specific time periods, much like the cartoon. Now, the episode we will be talking about is an episode titled Dickens of a Christmas. In this episode, we start out with Doc and his family and Marty all fighting with each other. One thing you will notice is that Doc doesn't quite sound like Doc.
That's only by the temperature under your collar.
And that's because even though they got Christopher Lloyd for the opening and ending bits, they didn't get him to do Doc's voice in the cartoon. Why? I don't know. I think that was kinda dumb as they had Christopher Lloyd anyways. Why not just use him?
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit. Fuck. Oh.
Anyways, he is voiced by famous voice actor Dan Castellaneta, who is known for voicing one of the most famous cartoon characters, Homer, from Hercules the Animated Series.
Started by Helen, whose face could launch 100? No! Make that 1,000 ships!
Okay, fine, here's where you know him from.
Simpson, Homer Simpson, he's the greatest guy in history.
Yes, he is most known for voicing arguably the most famous man in the cartoon world, Homer Simpson, a character that is basically historic at this point. While Dan is a great voice actor, unfortunately I feel he wasn't the best choice for this role. His Doc impression is not flat out garbage, but you can tell this isn't Doc. This feels like someone trying to do an impression and only doing an okay job at it. However, the voice of Marty, Josh Keaton, who is known for voicing young Hercules in, well, Hercules, I honestly think does a great job here. It's not perfect, but I think he does a perfectly fine job as Marty, and I don't have any complaints. Anyways, back to the show. As they're fighting, they come to the conclusion that it is due to the heat and decide they need to travel to 1845 London to cool down. Why specifically 1845 London? I got no idea, but I guess it works. Anyways, they get to 1845 London where Doc lets his son Jules protect the DeLorean keys. Doc, Marty, and Clara then walk into a toy store. While they're in the toy store, a pickpocket steals the DeLorean keys from Jules and makes a run for it, but he has Jules and Vern close on his tail. Doc and Marty go to try to find where the boys went, leaving Clara behind. Just then, in walks Ebenezer Tannen. Yeah, you can see what they're parodying here, and shuts down the toy shop for being 1 hour late on their rent payments. Jesus Christ, and I thought real landlords were hard enough to deal with. This is just fucked up. Not only does he shut them down, but he also arrests them and takes Clara as well after she pushes him away after he hits on her. Fuck me, this guy is some hardcore evil here. I'll
Tell you what.
Anyways, Jules and Vern chase the pickpocket to a house where they are tied to the roof by a man named Murdoch.
The man in question is undergoing a full evaluation at the Provincial Lunatic Asylum.
No, not that Murdoch.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Hey, funny guy! I got a joke for you! What smells rotten and puts people to sleep?
Noxious gas?
No! Your
Video. Murdoch is the man who's in charge of the town's pickpockets and decides to spare the kids by turning them into pickpockets. Just then we cut back to Marty and Doc, who couldn't find the kids and find out that Clara was arrested thanks to some carolers. So Marty and Doc decide to split up. Doc went to find the boys and Marty went to find Clara. For the most part, the rest of the episode is Doc and Marty finding the others. Doc goes to a tavern to bribe a man that is close with Murdoch, who gives Doc his location, and Marty goes to the jail to find Tannen, but is told by the jail's guard that Tannen never lets anyone go, show, and that he is a real Scrooge. This then gives Marty the obvious idea to parody A Christmas Story. Sorry, Christmas Carol. Sorry, Ralphie, please don't be mad. Maybe I'll talk about you someday. Alright, so Marty ends up doing the whole Christmas Carol thing by flying into Tannen's window, saying he's the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future. Because, you know, time constraints, and tried to show Ebenezer the error of his ways. And by that, I mean he shows Ebenezer his child-run factory and a poor family eating burnt roasted nuts.
Because nobody likes roasted nuts.
And instead of that helping him, he tears up because he remembers one of the kids owes him money, and he tries to steal the burnt roasted nuts. So Marty is like, yeah, you know what? Fuck it. You're a piece of shit, lost cause. Here, go back home. Here's a noose. Kill yourself! That might be a little harsh. Anyways, while that's happening, Doc gets to Murdoch's hideout and tries to convince Murdoch that he is a friend of their child pickpocket. This backfires and Doc gets tied to the roof. Thankfully, the kids that night manage to get the keys back and find Doc. Unfortunately, they wake up Murdoch in the process and get chased out of the hideout. They are chased back to the tavern where Doc captures Murdoch and his sidekick, I guess, using barrels. Back to Marty now. Okay, I slightly lied earlier. Marty does bring him back and was about to let him rot, but a mini projector falls out of his pocket showing Godzilla, which finally scares Tannen and turns him good the next day. Until he sees Marty and realizes it was all a fucking sham. So he chases him down the road and crashes into a figgy pudding cart. And yeah, that about sums it up. Marty, Doc, and the others get into the DeLorean and go back to their time and the show ends. Well, kind of. We will get to that in a moment. So, what do I think of this episode of Back to the Future, the animated series? Well, it was okay. Not bad, but okay. It felt kind of rushed to me, as I wish a little more time could have been spent on the whole Christmas Carol thing with Marty and Ebenezer. I honestly think a full version of A Christmas Carol of these two characters, as well as Doc, could have worked and made for a pretty cool adaptation of the original. I mean, it probably wouldn't have been as good as, let's say, Disney's A Christmas Carol or Muppets Christmas Carol, but it still would have worked well. As for everything else with the episode, it honestly wasn't that bad. Voice acting is decent. I think the voice of Marty does a spot-on impression of Michael J. Fox, and it works really well. As previously mentioned though, I wish Doc would have been voiced by Christopher Lloyd. Dan does an okay job, but Doc just isn't Doc if he isn't done by Christopher Lloyd. I honestly want to watch the whole series at some point, as Back to the Future is one of my favorite film franchises, and feel the show is worth doing a whole review on. So expect that at some point down the road. Anyways, the very end of the episode is Doc working on his DeLorean, but it cuts to his assistant showing how a pendulum works. At the end of every episode, this assistant shows kids some sort of science-related thing, and who is the assistant exactly? Well, none other than the myth, the legend, Bill Nye the motherfucking science guy. That's right, before we talk kids science in his own show or scream at us as adults about how the world is literally on fire,
The planet's on fucking fire.
he was Doc Brown's assistant, which is fucking amazing. These segments are basic, but something about seeing Bill Nye in this just makes it 5 times better. So yeah, that about sums it up. On a scale from 1 to 10, I think I can safely give Back to the Future the Animated Series Episode 7, Tickets of a Christmas, that has a really long fucking title, a 6.5 out of 10. It is not perfect and could have been better, but at bare minimum, it makes me want to watch the whole show, and if that isn't a good thing, I don't know what one is. If you enjoyed this video, remember to subscribe and ring the bell, and also comment down below some suggestions for future videos, both for Lost Media and Obscure Media, as I am always looking for ideas to add to the list. Alright, take care everyone. Until next time, make what was once lost found again, and discover some Obscure Media, because this shit is fucking awesome.